threat, Richard, was extremely impressive when scoring at the Guinness meeting at Newmarket. We haven't seen him since. Has that been intentional? He goes to the Coventry?
Yeah, I thought he'd run well. I wasn't really sure what we were taking on. There wasn't many runners in the race, but his homework has been exceptional. You know, I think he might just be one of the best 2-year-olds we've had here for a while. I'm very hopeful, and I love the horse, and I think he is probably our best chance of the week.
What is it then that he shows that makes you so confident?
You can see quite plainly, very early on, he's a very big, mature, ahead of his days. You know, he looks like a man amongst boys some days, and he does it very easy. He's a lovely attitude. Everyone gets off him, says the same thing, and he's looked pretty good in his work. He looked pretty good before he ran. He'll have obviously, for one of our horses to win first time, they're pretty good, and he will have improved massively since. I've been very happy with his work. Blah-de-blah. I could talk for days about this horse.
I mean, he's got a lot of stamina in his pedigree. Light shift is there somewhere about. I mean, do you see him next year as being a possible Derby contender, Guinness contender?
Well, I think we'll see next week, and that will answer all of our questions. I do think he's got the scope to be a 3-year-old, most definitely, and he's got the scope to get a trip. However, he won over 5. I wanted to wait for 6, but he was going that well at home. I thought we could have let him have a go, and it seemed a nice place to start. And he dealt with the undulations there, no problem. Ascot is a very flat track, so there's no question of him not dealing with it, I don't think.
You've got a couple of other entries as well. Temple of Heaven, 2 from 2. Sort of look, I thought, really gutsy at Newbury last time. I mean, what looked a decent novice. Yes,
he is. He's always, since he looked a little like he emptied between his first run and Newbury. Since Newbury, he's developed a middle. He worked with Threat the other day. Ross Orion rode him. He thought he was going every bit as well, which is great. He's in the Coventry. He might run or he might go Windsor Castle. He's a very good horse, and he was tough the other day. And that's what I like about him. He could come back to 5 furlongs, no problem. I would prefer not to send my best 2-year-olds now to the same race, but they belong to different people. And if that has to happen, it's not a bad day, but it would just be nicer to see them take their chances in different races. But he's a very tough horse with a lot of ability, and physically he's done very well.
And a line on Kuwait Direction, who was very unlucky at Doncaster last time.
Well, I took him to Windsor and he was an embarrassment. I thought he was going to run well. He flopped out the gates. He was like a slob. He hardly picked his feet up. I got him out the next morning. He got home at 9 o'clock. I got him out the next morning. So make sure I wasn't mad. Send him down there. He came past, lovely. So I gave him a fair bit of welly between his first race and his second race. And it's a good job I did, because he still looks like he hasn't had a race. He's all right, a lot better than you think, but you have to really get after him to get the best out of him. I'm just delighted that he looked a nice horse at Doncaster 2 Saturdays ago, because Windsor, I left the races feeling pretty insecure about, the horse generally, thinking how could I have got that so wrong? But luckily the owner understood it, and he put his best foot forward next time.
I think that was actually the second year on the trot that you've had the second in that
particular
race. Yes, you're
going back to Fox Champion, aren't you?
Which we're now going to move on to.
Exactly the same thing. But I didn't watch it live. I couldn't get to a screen at Epsom, and I was listening to it, and it sounded on the TV, on the phone, like he got beaten. My mum rang me and said she thought he'd won. I thought, well, that's the end of that then, because that's exactly what happened last year. And he got beaten a short head, which, he'd win his maiden, no problem, but he's going to have to improve a lot to be competitive in the Coventry. But he is a very strong, robust horse, very tough.
Partridge, 2 runs, 2 seconds. Surely a win is imminent.
Yeah, I can't believe she got beaten first time. I thought she's definitely going there to win, at least half a length, and she gets nailed on the line. She got messed around a little bit, bumped around. That won't do her any harm. And last time I think she bumped into a nice horse of Carl Burke's, who I'm told they think is a good horse. I thought she travelled there lovely. She was coming there to win, and just got tired. Now, whether that was because the ground, there was a lot of rain around, whether that just stunted her toe at the end of the race, or whether that's the first, every race she's running, she's been the only filly so far. So we're going to go back to one of these fillies races and take on just fillies, and hopefully she'd be competitive in one of those Ascot races because she's very fast and they will go very quick. Sit in, get a lead. Hopefully they'll stop. Sometimes they don't. And she'll be sitting there and hopefully we'll be able to pick up the pieces. Kemble, I was a little disappointed in her first time, I've got to say, at Newmarket, but that race has turned out very well. I think the winner's favourite was Queen Mary. The second came out and won the Marygate. The listed race at York, that is very good form. When she went to Windsor, she bolted up and she looked a good filly on that day. I don't know whether we're going to go 6 or 5 yet, but she's a filly. Again, she was a little bit narrow and she does quite a bit at home. She's quite active, so she doesn't hold a lot of weight. Since Windsor, she's really matured, done well. She put on weight behind the saddle. She looks great. And she'll deal with the Ascot sort of pomp and ceremony very well, I would hope. And that should stand her in good stead. She's got a lot of speed. An Ascot 5 is not like a normal 5. It's a very tough 5 and it's very stiff. So I haven't decided whether to go 5 or 6 yet, but hopefully she'll run well in either. Separate, yeah, she ran into, I think, a very good horse of Paul Cole's. They're going to send to the Coventry. And second time she got no luck in that Marygate. She would have run very well. Last time she was the best filly in the race and she won as I expected her to. She's another one. She might be better over 6. But an Ascot 5 might suit her. She's a very disciplined filly. She deals with everything very well, and she's a filly of routine. She's very simple. She does have a lot of speed, and I think 5 or 6 furlongs doesn't matter to her. But her owner is very keen to take on one of them, and he wants me to enter in both. So we'll decide nearer the time. I haven't asked Sean which one he'd ride yet, Campbell or Separate, but we'll see. He'd get it wrong anyway, I say. Some Power is an interesting 2-year-old. Disappointed with him first time, but it's turned out to be one of the hottest 2-year-old races of the year. Everything that's running the race, one won the Colts equivalent of the Hilary Needler. The other one is very fancied, I think, for the Coventry or Windsor Castle, one of the two. He's a nice 2-year-old, always has been. I was disappointed at York, but he showed a good bit of mettle, I think, at Wolverhampton. He came from behind and, he was asked to go between horses, and he did. And he got the trip very well. He could run well in a Cheshire because it would give him a chance to get in the race, travel and enjoy it. It wouldn't surprise me if he was competitive.